Hello, hello.
What are you gonna do if you can't get them?
I got them. They're on the other side. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Woo!
Ready to go. You're going to do the introductions, Will. Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. And Will is someone in his own right, an amazing man, coming out of American Express. He's done some great work, been involved in quite a bit of structured organization and learning management systems. So Will makes a complete team. Today, we are going to talk about really the biggest mistake that you can make when hiring, and why you really can't keep or find the right employees. I was at a Christmas party last week and talking to a business owner. He's an electrician, owned an electrician company, did a couple $1 million in revenue. And he was asking me about what we were doing, and he was really intrigued by, this whole mission, vision, values idea wrapped around employees. But the funny thing is, at the end of our discussion, or near the end of our discussion, he said, but I'm just a small company, right? I'm a small company, and I do not have the need for that type of view of my company. I'm just here to make money. And it kicked me in. It reminded me, many years ago of my first job. So how many of you guys remember your first job? Raise your hands if you can remember. I remember my second job, actually. It was my second job. So I started work at 14, and this was a long time ago before child labor laws. So I'm kidding. So in that job, I was just a busboy at a local restaurant, at a local Elks Club. Okay. And so I could work between 12 and 14. And every Wednesday and Friday, I'd be bussing tables. And this woman who was a regular watched me for 2 years. I worked there for 2 years up until the time I was 14. And she pulled me off to the side one Friday and she said, Hey, Paul, I've been watching you work for a long time. And as you know, I own the West Pier Drive-In. It's a very small little restaurant. And she said, would you be interested in coming down and interview for me? And I said, well, yeah, of course. So, so I agreed to come down and interview. And during the interview, Gypsy told me about her goal of making the best subs in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And that it was all based on her secret recipe. She asked me if I was interested in being a part of her team. And I thought, heck yeah. I was a football player. I was a pier goer, and I loved those subs. So the idea of getting free subs all day was really cool to me. So I thought I was a shoo-in because my dad was good friends with Gypsy. I love that name, by the way. And in the interview, she told me about her vision of making, subs, being the best in the UP. And she said, but hold on. She said, you need to earn the privilege to make these subs. You can't start as a cook. So I ended up starting as a car hop. All right. And then she said to me, she goes, everyone must pull the weight here. The customer comes first. We treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are. And finally, she asked, can you commit to the way that we do things? And of course, I said yes. I worked hard at West Pier. I learned every aspect of business. It took me 6 months in what seemed to be an eternity, scrubbing pots and pans and hauling out food to cars. And in 6 months, I earned the the ability to make the subs. But I didn't appreciate it at the time. But in retrospect, I learned 3 valuable lessons from Gypsy. Gypsy had a clear vision for the West Pier, even though it was a small visit. She wanted to create the best subs in the UP, and she wanted to use her bread recipe as the secret. Her focus on quality and innovation set the West Pier apart from its competitors. Gypsy's mission was to provide excellent service to her customers. She emphasized the importance of the way we treated customers. And I'll always be grateful for what she taught me. It was a valuable lesson. The big thing was Gypsy's organization, the West Pier Drive-In, is still in business today. It's celebrating its 68th year of business. She was clear on her purpose. She was clear on her vision. And we the employees, were clear and committed to it too. So 65 years later, that company, that little West Pier Drive-In, has had 4 owners, all of them being previous cooks and car hops in that organization. All of them. 500 kids, 500 high school kids, all have been successful in their own right because of Gypsy. We figured out, and in retrospect, that we were her purpose. That kind of buy-in to your company and your purpose is critical for you to attract employees today and keep the employees that you have. You have to be together. So today, what we're talking about is vision, mission, and values. We put together a framework for you to put your own vision, mission, and values together and take that back to your company, okay, and work on it with your executive team. Any questions starting in? All right, great. So, and again, if your employees aren't bought into what your company does, if they're not bought into your mission and vision, then they end up turning toxic because they don't know which way to go. They all are not rowing the same direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through how to create your mission value, or excuse me, your mission statement and your vision statement, and identify what values you are. So this workbook is developed to guide you through creating the tiger's eye, or broken up into 4 sections. We're going to go through your values, your mission, and your vision. We're going to create that. Come on. Pardon me, my screen. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go through the why and who, and the purpose of your organization. A purpose statement is all about what the company does for its audience. To understand the implications, it's important to ask why the company was initially founded. If your company sells a product or service, consider why it benefits the customers and what makes the company unique at the marketplace. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Why is our company in existence? Okay, I didn't see anybody anymore, so I thought everybody blipped out. Great, great. I want to entertain any questions about building and understanding your company and why it's in existence. Well, oh yeah, I have a couple of stories. I came into, in fact, back a few years ago, my wife and I decided that we both worked traveling jobs, and so we were both on planes every day, and we had kids, and we decided that we're moving here into the western side of Minneapolis, and one of us has got to stay home. New school system, new people, new everything, and there's just no way we could do that. And so I had to find a kind of a VP of sales position with a local company that didn't require me to travel, because my entire career has been either out of Silicon Valley, out of Dallas, or out of New York City. But I never lived in the areas that I worked for, but it was always planes. So I ended up finding a software company here locally, and I got the job offer like right away. I mean, they practically didn't even interview me. It was just like, here you go. We want you on board. We know who you are, all that great stuff. And should have been the first of a telltale sign, but I was so excited. I was so excited to find that level of job where I didn't have to travel in the local area. And I was just like, yeah, I'll take it. Boom, in. 2 weeks after we had that discussion, I was in. I walked in the door and the staff it looked like Barnum and Bailey Circus. And I mean, you could hear the music. Dun, 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 dun. They were running all over the place. Nobody knew what they were doing. Everybody was in their own little silo trying to produce. And after a week there, nobody really had any cohesion about what each job had to do with the overall global purpose. Because wait a minute, there wasn't an overall global purpose. It was about selling subscription software, and there was no endpoint. The CEO didn't have a clue. I sat down multiple meetings. He did an annual meeting to explain what the targets and goals for the next year were. And this is right when I just started, and I knew I was in trouble here. He walked into the meeting, and he says, "Okay, we've done $2 million last year. So next year we're targeting 10%. Yeehaw. That was the end of it. That was the end of the production. I literally, after he walked out the door, hopped in his Tesla and took off. I redid that meeting with new goals that were more like 260, 2.6 million, as opposed to 2.15 million, right? It was horrible. And then we did the meeting, did it, and he almost fired me for doing this, right? Because, and his statement was, that should have been me giving that speech. And you know me, Will, my statement back was, yes, it should have been. The problem was not there. But he didn't know why his company was in existence, And as we're talking about this, please, write in what you think, because I'm going to ask as we go through this. So it was very important. He didn't know why his company was in existence. Who did they serve? He didn't know what problems his product solved. He didn't know he didn't know who he solved it for. Ultimately, he didn't have any of the pieces together for his company. He had no vision. Therefore, his employees were there for a paycheck to go home at the end of the day because there was nothing to buy into. That is. Oh.
I got a question for you.
Sorry.
Are you ready for a question, Mr. Paul?
I am, please.
So I do have someone listening that wasn't able to get in. So the question is, how do you get your staff, the employees, to understand the importance and just not have them come in for a paycheck? How do you get this? I mean, once you start your vision, your mission, your values, how do you get the buy-in?
That's a great question. And it really comes wrapped around being clear on what your mission, vision, and values are so that you can be clear in your hiring process. And in my example at the start of this, I talked about Gypsy outlining her mission, vision, and values in our interview. And then the closer was the question she asked me. Can you commit to the way we do things, is the way she put it. What she was asking was, in my heart, can I align with her so that I can be part of a team that's going to carry her mission forward? Do I align with it all? Right. And, you know, as a teenager at the time, I absolutely aligned with it. It was a simple mission. It wasn't, you know, it was very simple. And she cared so much about the employees. She was part of that mission. She delivered the caring and the authenticity that goes with the way she was putting her mission forward. She made me feel like I was a part of something, which made me buy into what she was doing. So one of the big things about doing this is I've seen like 100 million job postings out there. And it's kind of interesting as you look through those, because what you see is outline detailed of what you need to bring to the table, what you're going to do, all the way down. You know, you may have to travel 70% of the time. You may have to, you know, go to live events. You may have to give up your second-born male child somewhere in the line if we need it. It's all in there. They talk about your requirements. You have to have a bachelor's degree, that you have to have this, you have to have that. But what I never ever see is this is who we are as a company. This is what makes us go. This is what we want to accomplish. In 10 years, we want to have 10,000 companies that we've realigned so they're healthy workplaces. That's what we want to do. That's our mission. Okay? That's something to work for. That's something that when I talk to people about what Cleveland Rain wants to do and our mission, they ask me, how can I get involved? Because it is a mission that's worthy of involvement. If you can touch your employees at that level and get alignment at that level, these are the employees that will go through a pandemic and they'll take a small cut in pay to keep the company going while you're trying to battle through this economic hardship. Those are the employees that are there for the company. Key though is your company has to be there for them. So that mission, vision, and values goes both ways. Great question, Kim.
Thanks. And I think it's important to say, and I don't want to take over your speech, but there's evidence out there that when our employees, if they work long hours, children that are left at home, right, are okay. And then those employees that come home that are dreading their work or not liking their work, there's evidence to show that their kids that they leave home become bullies and become as tyrants. So it's all about having that fluidity, right? And being happy where you are, both as the employee and as the employer. I think that speaks to getting that mission, vision, and value out there so they all understand.
Yeah, it's an alignment, because part of that value communication to the employee and vice versa, that value communication is a true sense of caring about the employees. So as you're working with your employees, through the pandemic, we've gone through the remote working, and it's become more difficult to create that culture because the employees are now isolated in their own places. I'm going to use an example because Will and I have actually been toying with this on how to create stronger bonds, even though we're remote workers, right? Because our mission, vision, and values involve in creating a cohesive team. And that not only encompasses the mission, vision, values, but the modalities of doing it. So Will and I have been toying with face-to-face working, right? We're on a video, even though we're not talking to each other, we're face-to-face. And then if we have a question, we'll bring it up. And we've found, and this is anecdotal, of course, but our productivity has taken a significant step up. We're getting more accomplished every day, and our cohesion's stronger because we're working across from each other. So it really does. How does your employee learn? How do they ingest information? How do they put that information out? And how do the frontline workers do that? All should be in alignment right from the executive suite down, all based on that mission, vision, values. So one of the other things that you do with this tool is that you use it to evaluate your employees. You use it as the benchmark and the lens to understand whether they are meeting or exceeding expectations based on your mission, vision, values. Transfer that to your hiring process, and you're advertising those mission, vision, and values within your job postings, because it will catch the eye of people who align with it. You'll have less resumes come in, but you'll have more appropriate resumes coming in because they see you're looking for something specific.
And when you're writing your mission, your vision, and your value, how do you, it should be personal, right? I mean, give me, I'm sorry, I don't have the workbook with me, but my question is, I many times have seen people go to write it, and it's very robotic. It's really robotic. Like, you've got to feel what you're really doing, like a manifesto at the end of the day, right? What is my company's long-term? What do you feel about that? How do you feel about putting that?
Well, I feel that it is extremely personal. Okay. Right. Number one, if you're a startup company or solopreneur ramping up to a new company, it is so personal. It is like, this is all me. I am the company. What am I? What am I about? What problem am I going to fix? Who am I going to fix it for? And what am I going to do with that overall? Is there an endpoint for me? Is there an exit strategy? What do I want to look like in 10 years? You know, what do I want my company to look like in 10 years? To that point, Kim, we've included a lot of examples in the workbook of what the mission, vision, values look like. And I went through this. I did this for a company 2 months ago. Very, very heartfelt company out in California, and some people went to tears on it because of the interaction back and forth between the team and getting the right words to really define that vision and then define those values. Because we can use words as values, that's great, but that's not enough. What does that word mean to me, right? What does that word mean to me? What does it mean to the team? And defining those, because these are the platform of your interaction, your hiring, your interaction with your employees, your marketing, who you bring to be subcontractors, right? Who you bring to be in strategic partnerships. You look at all of these things through the lens that you create with your mission, vision, and values. You're on mute, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're kind of building on things. So in my original story, I talked about Gypsy, her mission, vision, and values. I didn't talk about her purpose until the very end because I didn't know it at the time. Right? This is all in retrospect. This woman taught me what I'm teaching today. Wow, 45 years ago. Okay, so she was like way ahead of her time. So when we talk about this, Gypsy's purpose was self-apparent. Her purpose was us. Her purpose was making us adults. She took that on. That's what she was doing. The company, the West Pier Drive-In, was a vehicle for her to get to her purpose. She wanted to impact kids' lives. It was funny. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. And when I wrote that little piece, or when I brought it up, I actually came to tears because I didn't realize it to that point. It was so impactful. Her purpose was us. Okay. And that's really huge, because when you get down to it, your purpose becomes your people. And if your purpose is your people, there's nothing that can stop you, because they are going to align. And having that, how is my purpose going to impact the people that I work with, the people that I'm going to bring on board, and how is it going to impact the people I serve? And that's the real difference there, is because once you figure out your purpose, and then your mission, vision, and values, you transcend into a leader of purpose. You transcend into a leader of service. Okay, you're going to change the way you think about your company, change the way you think about yourself, and it becomes a completely different ball game at that point. Does that make sense, Will? Well, your purpose is global, right? It's something that you want to attain to. I said ours 10 minutes ago, right? We want to impact companies. We want to create safe work environments where employers, employees, executive, and frontline workers are all aligned and all rowing in the same direction, are all accomplishing something, are all one as a whole, where the mission is what you do. It's how you're going to do it. Okay. Our mission is to educate and help companies align their employees so that they can reach their visions, right? That's what we do. So they're completely different things. The purpose is a place that you want to arrive, right? Tony Robbins calls it a moonshot, right? So Elon Musk's purpose is to, colonize Mars by 2090 or whatever that year is. All right, some outrageous thing that he is driving everything to, and his mission is to drive everything forward from that point. And So the unique offer is really what sets you aside in the marketplace. So it comprises of a couple of things. I mentioned it a little earlier. Number one, what problem do you solve? Your company is in existence to solve a problem for someone. Okay, what is that problem? Can you be specific about it? Okay, be specific about what the problem is that you solve. Number two, who do you solve it for? All right, what is your market? What is your entry point market that you solve this problem for? Okay, and what do you do differently than anybody else does to solve that problem? Do you have competition in the marketplace? Are you doing something different? Are you doing a value add? What is it that you're doing that's so different that's going to set you aside, and how can you communicate that? This is a key piece, right? This is like the platform of marketing, right? This is who you're going to talk to, what problem you're going to solve, and at the end of the day, what you do differently to solve it for them. You have to be able to communicate those, and it's key for your mission statement. Well, again, you couple that with your the people you serve, right, and the product you have, and then you craft that unique offer wrapped around how you uniquely deliver the solution to the problem. And that's where you're doing. And you test that. You test that with your existing customers. You find out. In fact, one of the best places to go to find out what it is that you do uniquely, because you may not know, is asking your clients. Why did you do business with me? What was it that really kind of brought it over the fence so that you handed me a dollar bill? Okay, you handed me a dollar bill to do this for you. Why was that? A few of your clients are going to tell you exactly why. And then you want to take that another step further and really hone that message down. Call the clients that didn't do it with you and find out why they didn't. Okay, why didn't you do business with me? Why didn't you hand me that dollar? Because that's going to tell me what's not resonating from the standpoint of my unique offer, right? Yeah, this is you know, it's a difficult thing from the standpoint of this can't be done in a vacuum. it has to be done as a team. Okay, and that's why we're not in this presentation. That's why we're not really getting delved into, you know, taking it to the fine level, because what you need to be doing is getting your values on paper, getting your mission on paper, and then bringing it back to your team. Hey, do you guys agree with this? Do you guys, how can we make this tighter, right? What is it about us as a team that puts these values together? And I know, Will, when you and I first got together and we built the Tiger framework, because you were highly involved in that, and we came up, we were actually just doing a value workshop, right? We did it in like 3 days, and we defined the values of our company. We defined what they were, and that became, because of, you know, your experience and my experience over the past 30 years, it became the framework for what we're building out as a community, because that tenaciousness and inspiration and generosity and execution and rejuvenation is what we're all about. And the definitions beyond that are the framework for everything that we do. We all got together wrapped around a value system that was before it ever got on paper. And the reason why we all align is because it was in our hearts first. We knew it. We knew it, and we put it to paper, and now we're executing on it. So it's really key for your team to buy into your value system, into your values. They have to be a part of defining those values. And that's where the work comes in, because it's hard to get 12 people on a board to agree on what color paper the paper is in front of you, to agree on what your value system is going to be, is a deep, hard work with that team. Oh yeah, that's, well, the reason Starbucks is like so huge to me is there was a they had some problems at Starbucks when they entered the Chinese market, and that was really what caught my eye to Starbucks, was this issue that they were having in China, which got me tied into, you know, the alignment that I have with them for the way they do, that they run their company. But in China, they spent almost 10 years trying to figure out China. And they had executives over here in the United States that were running China, but they weren't getting any traction. They weren't getting traction with the employees. They weren't getting traction with the customers. It just wasn't taking off like it did here in the United States. And then they had an epiphany. They said, hey, why don't we hire somebody from China to run the company in China? And the minute they did that, they realized that there was such a culture difference, because here we're focused on the individual, right? So Starbucks mission, vision, and values in the United States were really aligned with their employees here. But in China, it was different. It wasn't the employees. And that's what they found out. They found out it was the employees' families. Found out it was their parents. So Starbucks had to realign themselves, not with the employees, but with the parents. And they did an annual meeting. They didn't invite the employees. They invited the employees' families, right? So they spoke to the employees' families. And from that moment forward, Starbucks took off in China. They crushed it, because they found out that their mission, vision, and values did not align with the company's, with the employees' families, as opposed to an employees. So that's just like one step further out. The culture of your company and the culture of the country that it's in need to align to from a mission, vision, value standpoint. And that's why I love Starbucks, because they really tore into that. They really had to figure that out, and it came at great cost. But they had the tenacity to stick to it in China. So yeah, that's one of my favorite stories. Yeah, so I like to do it this way, and I know you identify with this because we're both kind of project manager oriented. So we're very operational in our thought processes. Um, Vision is like where we're going, right? Mission is how we're going to get there. So the difference between mission and vision is a nebulous thing. It's out there. We're aimed towards it. It's a goal where I'm going to be, and mission is the checklist. Okay. So mission is about what we're going to do day to day to achieve our vision, right? So what's our standard operating procedures? What do we do, right? Just like our mission on a daily basis is to coach companies on building healthy and vibrant workforce that is aligned with their vision, right? That's a day to day. That's a checklist. Like when I'm done with that, I can check it off. I can go to company A, we've coached them, they're aligned, they're healthy, check mark. It's done. So that's our mission. We do that on a day to day basis. We do it every day. And every time we do it with a company, it gets us one step closer to that 10,000 companies in our vision, right? So it's a process. Does that make sense, Will? Yeah, it's easier planning a trip from a map where you're 50,000 feet over the roads than it is planning it from the road, trying to look through the trees or around the trees. Vision's really about it's a future state, right? It's a place you see yourself or your company in the future. It's stated as something you have accomplished, right? In our vision statement, we accomplished 10,000 companies, right? It is really about me seeing that in about 8.5 years that I'm sitting down, I'm looking back, and I'm going, holy crap, we did it, right? My God, we have worked with 10,000 companies to improve their culture, improve their revenue, to improve how they operate. We have 10,000 companies with happy, committed employees. That's looking backwards and seeing it as it's already happened. And from there, we know exactly what we have to do to hit that number. And we do it on a daily basis, which is our mission, right? So again, the vision is out there. I'm looking backwards. I accomplished it. And it's a good metaphor too, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm sitting there, I've accomplished it, and I'm looking backwards and I can see all the things that I've done to get us there. And that's the things I really have to do to get me there in 8.5 years. It is taking yourself way back. Yeah. My first company, I made some serious mistakes. So the number one mistake I made is I had no vision. I had no mission. What I had was something I discovered that was a product and that could be sold, right? Um, but I was amazingly unclear of where I wanted to go and where I was going. And I didn't have the opportunity to have someone talk to me about this or tell me about it. Okay. I didn't find the right person that really had that view. I had the entrepreneurial spirit. I had the technical know-how, but I didn't have a vision of where I wanted things to be. I didn't see myself in the future. So what that kept me doing was I was never looking up and seeing where the boat was going. I was trying to steer from the engine room. Okay. I was trying to steer the boat from the lower deck where I have no view of the ocean. And it was disastrous. I lost people because I lost everybody, honestly, because they had nothing to buy into. It was just a job. I didn't understand all of this. It was a huge mistake. I mean, that company closed down. I opened another because I understood more, but that company was a complete failure for me, and it was all my fault. It wasn't a lack of sales. It wasn't a lack of pipeline. It wasn't a lack of product. It wasn't a lack of people. It was a lack of vision. Okay, and my vision was not was non-existent, so it wasn't outcome focused. It was more of a mission. I knew what I had to do every day, but where was it going? And the other thing that goes along with that is I'll call it entrepreneur's depression. It is I was doing the same thing every day, and it became more like a job because I didn't know where it was going, and so I got bored with it. Right? It was like I'm not going to do this every day for the rest of my life because I didn't have a vision for what it should accomplish at the end of it. And so I'm very tied into that. You're correct. It's a mistake that I learned early, thank God. And I haven't made that mistake since. And it's also one of the reasons that we're doing this workshop. Mhm. Well, I love the leaving room for a pivot statement, but I always look at it like this. A vision is a very strategic thing, right? And a mission statement is tactical. And what that means is that I can have that vision way out there, and something can get in my way, and then I can move this aside, and I can still see the vision. Okay, so it's strategic. Where tactical, it's not. It's I have to change my tactics so I can continue towards my vision. So that where you get specific is tactical because you can change tactics to get to the vision, but you can't change your vision, right? So if you get too specific, it stops being your vision and it starts becoming day-to-day tactics. Well, first of all, I want to make sure that we don't have any other questions out there. Anything coming in on social media at this point? All right, so I'll leave you with this. To build your mission, vision, and values is a group effort with your team. It is something that is extremely important to create alignment in your organization and start defining how you're going to hire people, how you're going to bring those people in to a healthy organization. It's a hard thing to do. Like I have said, it is very emotional and it really should be facilitated to bring out the best outcome that you can possibly get. So if you need to facilitate your mission, vision, and values so you can get your company aligned and hire the right employees to catapult your company forward towards your vision, please reach out to us at www.clevelandrain.com. We have facilitation and we will bring your company through this exercise either virtually or we can even come out and be on site. And I'll leave you with that. And I appreciate everybody joining.